recognize these kind of life passages in the life of NAPC, we felt we would be unable to have this annual meeting without a tribute and a goodbye to our friend Browning Spence. As you know, we lost Browning in November of this year. He had been a force of nature for us for such a long time. We've included the beautiful eulogy that was in his local paper for you all. And we invited a few folks to share a few thoughts about Browning, their relationship with Browning meant to us and to them. So we're going to ask Martha and Martha and Sharon. Nancy Van Dyson has sent us a nice letter that Phil is going to share, and Kirby. So Martha, thank you.
Well, it doesn't seem fair that we lose one of our own, and certainly before his time. Browning, for one thing, grew up in an army family, and he moved all over the world, but he grew up part of his time in Greece. And so I remember when I first got to know him, we were talking about Greece and about Greek food. My mother was a Greek professor, so we had a lot of fun talking about that. But he also lived in Japan, and I can only imagine what he would be thinking now after the devastation that's happened to Japan. He used to like to take his family on vacations, and when he did, he always wanted to go out walking, climbing, seeing. He wanted to go see the water, he wanted to go see the mountain, he wanted to go see the path, he wanted to stop on the path and see what was on the path. And in the midst of that, it represented a being in the present. You know, we all worry a lot about the past, and we think a lot about the future, and we forget that the only time we actually can live is right now in this moment. And Browning was able to do that. And he and his wife often jerked me back to the present when we were at meetings or in talking over dinner. That was one of the real skills that he had, was to live in the present and not to ignore the past or the future. He was also a natty dresser. That was always kind of fun about Browning. You never quite knew. And he and his wife were married for 41 years. And so I remember sitting and talking with him and with Catherine, his wife, at one of our conferences and a dinner outside on a patio. And they kept talking about these things they've done, and I thought, my God, they must have met in kindergarten. And, you know, practically did. And they've been together all these years and been through enormous amounts of changes and lived all over the country. We also got involved talking with Browning about disaster recovery and his work in Pinellas related to what was going on with all the hurricanes there. And we shared a lot of human interest stories, people stories, stories about what happened to children, stories about what should not happen to children. His passion was children, his passion was children, and his passion was children. Browning came to our board in 2005. He joined the board here and was elected president in 2009. Did not get to finish his term as president, unfortunately. We all thought that he would, and so did he. So when he retired, prior to his fatal illness, we named him a director emeritus. And as he probably says, I'm a director emergicus, which means I'm still emerging in this profession. But a very special person, as are all of you in this room. And you know, we share a profession and we share a kind of collegiality that most professions don't share. You go to professional conferences and you don't usually experience the kind of things that we do among ourselves. And that's because of who you all are. And Browning was one of those special people. We have to remember that. Thanks, Martha.
Over the years, I've had the privilege of working with so many outstanding leaders. And some outstanding leaders are so smart that with their knowledge and expertise, you know an organization is going to be pointed in the right direction. Other outstanding leaders are such good managers that when they're in charge, you know the important things stress and chaos down. And then there are those outstanding leaders who are just so darn kind and compassionate that they inspire the very best work from everyone around them. Browning Spence he brought all of that in there. Martha's talked a bit about his history with NAPC as a board member, as president. She didn't mention that he chaired our one and only beach conference in Florida one year, chaired and hosted, and that was really wonderful. Never saw the swimming pool. No, we never saw the beach. So we were all talking about community issues. But even after his health concerns forced Browning to leave us, which he regretted, and so did we, he still kept in touch with NAPC. He would he would check in and see what we were up to, and he kept sending me supportive emails and even reassuring emails about his own situation. I made him a photo collage from some of the many events where he was such a central part, and with pictures of all of you all in it, and I'm told that meant something to him. So I know in NAPC, Browning is always going to be remembered fondly and with such great respect.
This is a message from Nancy. It's entitled Remembering Browning. I first met Browning Spence when he attended the National Association of Planning Councils Conference in Charleston, West Virginia. We've been trying to get the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County to engage in NAPC work for years, but to no avail. Then Browning came on the scene. From then on, JWB was an active participant in NAPC. At our first meeting, I knew immediately that there would be a great, valuable asset to NAPC, a thoughtful colleague to us individually, and a great champion for our work. Browning brought a wealth of knowledge and experience to his work in Pinellas County, and he brought the same commitment to an understanding of community planning and development to his work as a board member and later president of NAPC. Browning was a leader in the child development field, having implemented county plans for child welfare in both Pennsylvania and Florida. And he established the research department and community advisory functions at the Juvenile Welfare Board, where he worked for 23 years and retired as deputy director. I spent several days with Browning in Pinellas County working with him to support the establishment of full-fledged planning council. I remember fondly during that trip sitting under the stars on a balmy Florida evening with Browning and his wife, Mary Catherine, discussing how planning council work created the environment in which real lasting solutions to community needs could be developed. He loved his family, he loved his home in Florida, he loved his work, and he loved life. Browning was a true friend to his NAPC colleagues. His advocacy for children, his leadership in community-based planning for health and social services, and the various community initiatives for which he gave a guiding hand are all a part of his legacy. But we will remember Browning most of all as a dear friend with an easy smile, a warm personality, broad ideas, and always willing to help a colleague. NAPC and each of us has benefited from Browning's presence in our lives. Bravo and thank you, Browning, for a life well lived. You have inspired all of us to be a little better, a little more committed, and a little more like you, Nancy Van Dyson. I just want to say, just as a personal thing, I talked to Browning, I guess, 3 or 4 times close to the end of Browning's life, and never, just kind of coincidentally, the reason I'm a little kind of disturbed, whatever, is because one of my best friends was also dying about the same time. Browning was very similar qualities, 2 of the best people that I ever knew, and I would just say about Browning, Browning was somebody who, that of all the people that you cared about in your life, you were sad that they never were able to be friends with Browning. He was just a very, very special person. We will miss him always. But the good news is, and this whole thing is Browning. Thank you.